Hey, this is Sebastian from the Metal Gods Meltdown, and today I am joined by
Neil Carter, formerly of UFO now, and of Moggs Motel.
First up, I want to congratulate you on the amazing
Yeah,
Moggs Motel album. How pleased are you to be involved in such an amazing band?
incredible. It was very strange how it all came together because it was during lockdown, I think, as Phil said before. And so we didn't actually meet each other for a long, long time. Well, I obviously met Phil, but it took quite a few years to actually do it. But it's been a brilliant.
Honestly, when I watched the video, especially for Apple Pie, you all seem to be really enjoying yourselves.
Yeah. It was just very different to UFO, and we've got a new one that hits this Friday for the Sunny Side of Heaven, and there's a bit of a twist with that one. So that's I mean it's great. It's a very diverse album. It's not just straight predictable metal or predictable rock. It's got lots of different elements because we've all grown up a bit. So.
It is very different, and very. I mean, is it Harry's song, the little short bit? Is that you doing that? The musical, the instrumental bit? Or am I giving too much away?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. No, actually, the thing is actually that there's been a slight history of this through the band, like through my time with UFO. That Bill will say, "Here, Neil, what about da 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 da?" And I go, "Okay." And so he was playing a bit of the Dirty Harry. I've done Dirty Harry or Bullet soundtrack because Phil loves 70s gangster and whatever movies. And he said, "Look, do you think you can come up with anything like that?" And then Tony came up with a little bit of bass line, like 2-bar bass, and then I just put the rest of it on. So I did the rest of it. It's only very short. It's about a minute, I think.
It is.
Harry's place refers, I think, to Steve Harris. So it's Harry's place, but it was meant because it leads you into the next track, which is quite moody and it's quite sort of rock, heavy rock, But it was meant to be like one of those things from the 70s, That was the idea.
Yeah. I've read quite a few reviews, and I would say as well, it's a total mixed bag of an album. It's really enjoyable. I mean, there's a bit of blues, there's a bit of rock, there's a little bit of metal, and there's a bit of everything. It's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
So, on the album, which track would you say is your favourite today, and why?
Right. Okay. Now that's a difficult one. I go between. I do like. I always like Princess Bride. It's a real. Yeah, that's a real. Again, it was a riff of Tony's that then I went and expanded on, and then Phil put a great vocal on, and we got the good singer on it. I just like the whole thing of that. It's got a bit of a just sort of crunch to it. I like Weather, and I like Sunny Side of Heaven, which is the next single. And there's a part of me that really loves Storyville because it's a nice heartfelt lyric from favorite. I facilitate between different things. So and I do listen to it. I listen to it periodically over the last couple of year or so because it was ready a year ago. Yeah, so it's taken quite a long time with schedules and remastering and all this sort of thing to actually get it to the point when it's coming out. But finally, it's going to see the light of day. So,
Great.
yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It is a great album, like I've said, and I think it's going to probably be like the hard rock album of the year, without a doubt.
Yeah. What I like is the fact that Phil, at his young age, and me at my sort of semi-young age, and I'm 10 years younger than Phil, that can be involved in something like this that's totally new. And I really like that. Look, he didn't want to do another UFO album. That's what I thought. We discussed it a bit on and off, but he didn't want to do yet another UFO album. And I think he's put the lid on UFO, which I understand. Sad as it is, because if it was, I absolutely felt like it was like an Indian summer coming back to UFO. Albeit in sad circumstances, but for me to go back to the band after I don't know how many years it was, but it was a lot. It was just so lovely. It was so lovely, and it was such good fun, and there's such nice people. So I felt a little bit cheated by COVID, and obviously poor Phil with his heart, his heart condition. It was just a shame because we would have done more. We would have done. We wouldn't have quite finished the way we did.
It is such a shame. I mean, I saw UFO at Rock the Coast in Fuengirola. The
Yeah,
venue is amazing by the beach.
it was brilliant. Phil calls it Fuengirola, and
Yeah,
Fungi was it was
Fuengirola.
brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Because I love, we had a lovely hotel as well, and we played at the right time where the sun was just going down.
That's right, you did.
Absolutely incredible. It was really great. Best spot of the day, really, for us. Brilliant.
Absolutely, and that was just like obviously a few months later we had COVID, but it was amazing. That
Yes.
was what I call the normal world back then. It was amazing
Yeah,
day,
well,
and to be in the photo. I mean, I've been in the photo pit a few times when you guys have been on stage. But in the photo pit in Spain, that was special, and then to be there, Vinny's there. I've got a really good photo of Vinny. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a shame the band have called it quits, but it's really understandable. And I'm glad you have in a way, because it's better to leave on a high than to become like Kiss, who keep coming back and
Yeah. I think to be honest, it was always meant to be the last tour. The fact that I came back into it was just unfortunately by default, not my default, but it was by default. It did give a strange new twist to it, which is why we had booked more shows. It suddenly sort of put a little bit more sort of fuel into the engine. But to be honest, I knew it was going to be it, and whenever it was going to be sad. But the final gig we did, without knowing it, was a really big festival in Germany with Deep Purple, and it was a great way to go out. We didn't, because the last gig ever was meant to be this funny place in Athens called the Fuzz Club. And even Andy, I'm sure it was lovely, but Andy, we were all saying, "Oh God, is this going to be it?" I mean, it was in some ways it was strange because it was Vinny's first town to play in with the band, Athens. But it was the town where it all went wrong for UFO back in 1983. So it was a bit weird. For them it was Vin's first thing, and for me it was like, oh God, this was where it all went horribly wrong. So I am pleased. I'm not pleased it's ended, but I'm pleased we did end in where we did, because it was just a lovely gig to do. And I took some pictures on the stage, which I've never done. So it's really nice to have that sort of memory of it.
Well, talking about being on the stage, right? I need to know this because playing UFO vinyl today. And as soon as Doctor comes on, I have to crank the volume up past 12. Yeah, I have to. I can't just listen to that low. It's always got to be loud.
Yeah.
When you've been playing that live, what's that feeling like? Is that like an extra feeling when the intro to that starts? What's it? Do you get goosebumps?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it does actually. And in fact, funny if you mentioned Fuengirola, or Fuengirola, and it's quite incredible. And of course, the Spanish, I know because I live in Spain, they really let their hair down. And there's a great bit on YouTube where we start it and it goes da da and then da da da, and they're all singing it, but they're all leaping up and down. It's like that is very, very, very sort of, it is chills up the spine. In fact, even Phil, who'd sung that song a million times, felt, he said to me, it's unbelievable. This was like, I couldn't get over the reaction, So, and I think it's to do with the song, but also obviously I made them play it before they go on. So it does get about that song quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a good one for them. It's a very good song to have in your arsenal of.
When you do hopefully go out on the road with Moggs Motel, do you think you will be able to be playing some UFO songs?
I don't know what Phil said about touring. I mean, the idea would be to do 4 or 5 dates if possible.
Yeah, not a full-blown tour. He said he's past that.
No. I mean, I think he likes his armchair too much. I think he's quite happy at home, really. But yeah, I think if we did do anything, it would be a few choice dates. But you see, the good thing about what we've discovered with the videos is there's a hell of a big reach with the videos, So I suggested myself that we maybe do a couple more videos, because that is always a good way of keeping things flowing and floating and whatever. And I mean, for us to get together, again, it's very difficult because Joe, the drummer, is so busy. Tommy, the guitarist, is incredibly busy. And now Tony's out with KK's Priest, who are doing endless dates. So it's only Phil and I have got time to do it, so the rest of them, so it's actually getting in one place and actually getting me from Lanzarote, getting Tommy from Stockholm, he lives in Stockholm, so getting us all in together in one place is quite hard. And the amount of rehearsal would be quite, we have to rehearse quite a lot. So actually, I quite like the idea of doing some more videos, that would be good. But, it's not down to me, it's down to Phil.
But I think, like I said with the videos, it looks like you're all having a total blast. So yeah, maybe that's the way to go, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that is not to say it's ruling out doing any dates or any showcase gigs, But I think the days of doing the tour bus for a month or even 2 weeks is beyond most. Not for the old ones is a bit beyond it. I enjoyed it going back to it. I mean, it's a long time since I've been on a tour bus. Gary Moore, we always used to fly everywhere, it was all very high end hotels and very different to having a tour bus and having to schlep around long distances or whatever. And I found that a bit much. I didn't really. It was fine initially, but when we got to the second US tour, I was thinking, I remember now. Remember what I didn't like about touring, and that was being on the road in the tour bus. In the latter days of Gary Moore.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Gary because that's the next question. You co-wrote "Empty Rooms" with Gary Moore, and it has to be one of the best songs written during the '80s, in my opinion. And I can still remember getting it as a teen, the single. And playing it so much. My mum was like, "Will you turn that off?" But I loved it, and it's still when you hear it, it's still again. It's another. Does it surprise you that it's held in still so much high regard all these years later?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it was always a bit of a special song, and of course, it had double life because we did it on Victims, and then we re-recorded it for as a single for Run for Cover. And then it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. And it's still my highest earning song. Right. I mean, I was thinking, that it was like one of those things that say like Phil, Doctor, or whatever. If you've written something like that, it does endure, and it's nice that people are still interested in it. Bizarrely, yesterday I was out because we're moving house and we were at this couple, our new house, and the couple were an Irish couple, and she'd obviously looked me up and she said, "Empty Rooms" was her favourite song of all time. And it was really quite sweet, that people, I don't know, people of a certain age, and in fact, even the guy that did the videos for us came up to me and said, "You co-wrote Empty Rooms, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes." It's nice to know. So something like that's important. It's nice to have one song that that will carry on after you. So it is a lovely song. I mean, a lot of it down to Gary rather than me. I came up with the initial ideas and whatever, but Gary put the.
It's a fantastic song. Like you say, something that will live on forever. Talking of living on forever, then there's quite a lot of older metal and hard rock musicians still plying their trade. What do you put this down to? Because I mean, to be honest with you, I'm in my 50s and I struggle sometimes just to get up out of bed. But you guys are still out there.
Yeah, I mean, I did find going back with UFO a little bit more rewarding than say when I worked with Gary in 2010, because Gary had come off this long thing of doing blues, and then we did a rock tour, and Gary wasn't quite how I remembered it, put it this way. With UFO, because I played quite a lot of guitar with UFO, for me it was great because I could just get into the audience and I remembered what I loved, and it's showing really, basically. It's like if you put a line under it, it's actually showing off. It's something that I've always enjoyed doing, was that contact with the crowd and cheerleading and whatever, which is what Pete Way used to do in UFO. He was such a fantastic communicator on stage, so that's what we like about it. I suppose that's what keeps you fired up. I mean, Phil still, I think, were it not for the fact that Phil had this heart thing coming on, I think Phil's still got a kick out. He still gets a kick out of playing, and now it's almost like a stand-up comedy routine with Phil, which is in a way how I ended up going back.
Well, I spoke to Chris Slade out of AC/DC a few weeks ago, and he's still drumming. I don't know how he's managing that. He's still drumming. And anyway, he said sometimes he can be sat in a pub and it's quite funny because there'll be like youngsters, teens and that wearing AC/DC shirts and everything, Razor's Edge and that. And he'll be sat there and he'll have a laugh to himself because no one recognises him.
No,
So
correct.
yourself, when you're walking
Yes.
down the street in Lanzarote, do you still get pulled over, or do you get like, I reckon I
Well, we yeah, the thing is in Lanzarote, there's a lot of musicians doing
right,
bar work and all that sort of thing, and a lot of them play empty rooms, so or still got the blues or whatever, So it has been strange because in the weirdest places, like walking around Lidl or with my trolley, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, how you doing?" And we go. They have these things called sociedades here, which are the like coffee places, but for the Spanish rather than the expats, but the expats have discovered them. And we got a little fan club that go to the one which is near our house where we are now. And it's just weird. I mean, I get the most strange things here, and there's a local radio station where they do a rock show, and so people sort of know about you. But as far as getting recognised, I think because I look so different, that is. But then, having said that, with Moggs Motel and the videos, of course, that might change a little bit. But it's not something I ever thought about until it happens. And then when it happens, you go, "Oh God, blimey," But whereas Phil's got his look, Phil goes out in Brighton and he walks around. He's got his hat and
he's got his waistcoat, hasn't he?
he's got his waistcoat, his hat and his boots, and he's got a very distinctive look. Where I walk around, I wore trousers for about 2 years, so I just walk around in shorts and a singlet, because it's so hot. I don't walk around in my stage outfit. So it is a bit odd, but I can slip into all that quite easily, and I'm always grateful that anyone is happy to see, oh, the pussycat. The baby. I'm always grateful that anyone shows any sort of enthusiasm for anything I've ever done, because I think if you can do that, then you're very lucky.
Absolutely. So when you Tabs, come here. They're so naughty. She loves. If I'm talking to someone on here in my little room, she loves to make an appearance, don't you?
Oh, baby. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, of course, like the world of festivals and music, everything's changed, hasn't it? So much beyond recognition over the years.
Yeah.
Are you glad you started out in music when you did? I mean,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can say that without fear of anything. I think I was in the best, for me, what would be the best of times. That was the very exciting time, particularly in America. I had a passion about America. And for me to go back in the early 80s to do those tours, we did Cheap Trick, we did a co-headline thing with them. We did shows with Ozzy. With Gary, I did a tour with Rush, Def Leppard. So to be honest, I think it was the best time. And also because, as you can see behind me, you could sell lots of albums, and it was quite a lucrative time, for some a lot more lucrative than it might have been. But so I think nowadays, unless you're Adele or some major act, you don't sell shed loads of albums, you don't sell, it's all downloads as well. So, and people have to work so much harder, I'm very aware that musicians now are working a hell of a lot harder than I ever did. I used to have 18 months off between albums, and this is the weird thing, I don't imagine now how I would go about it. I would probably have to teach because I can't imagine to make the sort of money I made then, and I sort of, to have the career I had. I just don't think it would be possible now. There's so many people and they're so good. These people that are the YouTube players and the phenomenal ability of these people. I play some lead guitar for the first time in God knows how long. I'm playing lead guitar on the album, usually on the tracks that I co-wrote or wrote. I'm not Tommy. Tommy is, he's like flashy, so clever and so studied at the guitar.
Yeah.
I learned by listening to Mick Ronson and Brian May. So I would just sort of copy, and therefore my sort of my core guitar go-tos are not the Joe Satriani's or the Eddie Van Halen's or that. I'd already started working by then, so my stuff's more simple, and it's just that's what I do. I don't hold myself up to the guitar. So there are so many good people around, and to make a living must be very, very difficult.
You're multi-talented, instrumentalist. You play so many things. Is there an instrument you wish you had learned or still want to learn?
Right, had learned. Well, I did have a stab at the cello. My
Right.
partner's a cellist, and I did once actually when we were doing After the War with Gary. I was learning the cello with Andrew, I wish in a way I could actually play that a little bit better. The instruments I play, I'm totally happy with. You know, I would say my strongest instrument is the clarinet, for example. And then I'm so all right on the flute, and then everything else comes after it. But I don't ever touch the saxophone these days. I sold the saxophone. Yeah, because I got so teaching it for nearly 30 years, 25 to 30 years. I really had got so fed up with it by the time I finished. It was a beast, and I became a victim of my own success at the school I taught in, and I couldn't fend them off with sticks. There was so many. And it's never really an instrument I've been that passionate about. But the clarinet, which isn't a rock instrument, but I love, it's the thing I do best.
I don't really. I know you like jazz, don't you, and stuff like that.
I like some jazz. I like sort of big band. I don't like jazz, and I don't. I mean, this thing that is on the album has got jazz flute on it, and it was really just a wry, ironic take on what those things are like. I don't seriously jazz flute. I don't. I'm a classical player, but I can sort of like it's like putting on a cloak. But I like big band jazz. I like the old time big band jazz, definitely.
I know, because sometimes there's some I can't think what the death metal band's called now. It's gone. They have a bit of sax in one of their tracks, and it's really good. It's like really, it's fantastic. So sometimes it does work, doesn't it?
I must be honest. I got flayed alive by some UFO fans that they hated the saxophone, and in fact, the Lonely Heartman again. I'll blame Mob for this, but we could have a sax over here. I'll have a go. It's like how I didn't even own a saxophone back in those days. We hired one, and I tiddled around with it and did it. But I think I understood the saxophone a lot better when I started teaching it than I did back in 1981, 82. It wasn't. I didn't play it that well either, to be honest. But I sort of got more to know what I should be doing with it, and I like the way Smith used it. They used like tenors and baritones on their stuff like Chiquita and Vacation and this sort of thing. They used it really, really well for us. And actually, that was what I was trying to go for. It backfired a little bit, but that was what I was trying to go for on mechanics, So, but I wouldn't say saxophone is my favourite thing.
And what about this then? I'm going to have to ask you this. It's got to be done.
Right.
I've asked Phil about the days when I was first getting into metal back in 82, 83. I mean, Phil and Pete were known as the Wild Boys of rock and roll. Were you one of them as well? I was
a little fledgling wild boy. I was very, very young. I've got to be honest, when I joined UFO, I don't know, how old was I? I was 21 when I joined. And my first gig with them was headlining a festival after a couple of kilos. And I was incredibly insecure, and like most things when you join something, it took me a long time to sort of get in. So all that wild thing all went around me really, although I wouldn't say I was Snow White by any means, but Paul Chapman, Pete Way, Phil, they were merciless, they really were. But it was incredible. When I look back on it with great fondness. I really do, and they used to take the rise out of poor Andy so much, and Pete and Paul particularly were like they were really naughty. So, but Phil always had his girlfriend, with him. So Phil was in a way a little bit in my time was a little bit more set apart from me, and it was Phil and Pete then. So, they were just hysterical, and they really were. Quite a lot of. I mean, the stories. I don't even try. I try to forget most of them because you sort of you think, oh God, no, you can't repeat that. No, you can't repeat that. They were definitely entertaining. They were big characters.
4 words to describe Moggs Motel.
Diverse. Mog. What else am I going to say? Crunchy and a bit bonkers. That's 2 words, isn't it? Bonkers. So, if you listen to the end of Sunny Side of Heaven, in fact, we were doing the video I just turned around to Joe and I said, the drummer, and I just said, this is completely bonkers. And it is, the whole thing is just completely mad at the end. It's like, whoa, it's like a spin drive at the end of it. And to be honest, that's what I like. I like that sort of slightly centre thing about it.
But you know what I love about the album more than anything is it's hilarious. Like the lyrics are great, and Phil is just he's a lyrical genius. And I said to him back in the day, I reckon he should have been in a room with John Lydon from Sex Pistols.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
That would have been mental.
Yeah. Actually, I think there was a bit of a punk element to UFO. Actually, I think with him, but also with Pete. There was a bit of a punk element to Pete actually, and I can see it now clearer than I could years ago. Phil, and actually, I take my hat off, Phil. I don't know how he does it because I find writing lyrics impossible, and to come up with all those things, and countless albums. I don't know how many albums he's written, but I mean, going to the 20-something. And to come up with all those lyrics, I mean, it's an inspiration, As somebody really cryptic, and there's actually some stuff in Apple Pie that is quite sort of sad, but it's definitely a nod to. There's a line called "Up in the Corner of the Recently Deceased," and he records his stuff out in his garage, and he's got pictures of like Pete and Paul and whatever, and it's all like it's very. There's a lot of pathos with it. He's probably hating to explain this, but there is a lot of the lyrics have a lot of pathos to them. And if you listen to it really carefully, you just think, And I keep saying, I get you, I get what you did there, I get what you did there. So he's a joy. He's an absolute joy to work with. He really is.
Well, thank you so much for today's interview. Do you have any final words for your fans, our viewers, and listeners?
Goodness me. Well, I thank everyone that has ever bought into what we do and has enjoyed and the gigs and the albums and whatever, and still enjoys the stuff, the stuff today. It really is. It's very, very gratifying, and you can't say enough how much you appreciate it because you do what you do.
And a glitter, and it swirls